right, welcome back. This should look familiar if you watched part 1 of this series. This is going to be hopefully less of the included work and more of a fast forward through how to use the curve templates and the installation of the stringers, starting with sawing spacer blocks. All right, get ready for some noise. We're going to use the miter gauge to keep everything square-ish. I set the fence to 1 5/8 inches and snip, 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 cut the blocks. Well, once we turn the saw on, usually what I do is I just stack these up in a line, and that way as I add another one it pushes them closer and closer to the edge. So the more of them that stack up, the easier it is to just push them off the edge. And I usually have a bin of some sort, container of some sort beneath, and you'll see me push them off here in just a second. You hear the pump, pump, pump. Like that. The stock I'm cutting, I've already ripped to 1 5/8 inches wide, and I've cut it with the chop saw to about 4 foot long. It's definitely a chore to try and hold an 8 foot long piece like this square, even with the miter gauge. Oopsie, kind of missed on the rebound. There we go. Another batch done. And you can see it only takes a few minutes to chop up that 4 foot chunk. When I get toward the end, I don't worry about getting every last spacer block out of it. I usually leave the last one long to act as a reinforcement where the different stringers come together and join. There we go, done. With the first chunk, much more to come. I've sped this up so we don't spend all day watching me slice up pine wood. But you can see it's pretty repetitive, pretty much clockwork. Just slice it up till you're done. A few quick adjustments to make the longer ones, and here we go. A quick change back to finish up what's left as blocks. Cutting's done, now it's time to treat these things. Alright, time to make some blocks. All right, this is fun. This is what's left of a gallon of this treatment, and I started this project with a full gallon. I've ordered another one, but it's way overdue, and I ended up having to get a refund because it never did get here. 2 weeks later, the post office still couldn't find it, so I'm drizzling what's left over top of the blocks, just trying to make it go further. The way I do this is I dip 4 blocks at a time. 2 get submerged and pushed down. Sometimes they even get wedged in there. And then the 2 on the top just kind of float, and I have to hold them in. You can see how they bob back out of there. Then as they come out, I just stack them, let it soak in and dry if there is such a thing. You've probably noticed that I've worn gloves every time I handle this stuff. And the problem is it stinks to high heaven, and it doesn't matter how many times you wash your hands. It takes days for it to wear off. So don't plan on eating pizza or a taco or any of that finger food after you've done this. Word to the wise. I'll fast forward this too, so you're not bored to tears. While time consuming, this is a lot easier than hand brushing every one of those slats. What I need to do is come up with some kind of an automatic roller type of thing where I can just push it through and it automatically feeds from a sump of some kind through those little mini roller things. Just get all 4 sides at once, feed it in and push it in and pull it through the other side, and done. I don't normally make this many blocks at a time. It's usually, I have like a little snap top box that I fill with enough to do 1 or 2 stringers. And, I do one and I have enough left over to do another one later if I need to. But because I need 6 to 8 stringers, and this is such a messy, difficult process, I decided to just do all the ones that I needed at once. So this time I'm just stacking them all up on the template for the stringers because I'm going to end up using them all in the next day or 2 anyway. Whatever's left over will go in my snap top box. Here's what we've been waiting for, the curved template. And I can actually do a 20-foot diameter or a 14-foot diameter with this one template. You can see here it's a lot like the straight one. Selecting the slats one at a time, trying to figure out what the best orientation is. The one difference you may have noticed is the fact that I've got the chop saw there, and that's because I need to shorten the inside ones because they don't need to be as long as the outside ones to make it even. Another difference you may have noticed is that I don't have to clamp any of these together just to hold them in place. These placement blocks, if you will, hold everything where it needs to be for both sides and then provides an opening for the spacer blocks. What isn't different is selecting the orientation of the slats to get the best performance, the best weather resistance, the best strength. And just repeat for the other side of the stringer. Selecting one, there's two, and there we go. With the third in hand, I can start placing the other side, the slats for the other side of the stringer. And again, no clamps needed. Just slide them on down in the slots provided. At least that's the idea of these templates. And that gives me an idea for the straight template. Why not put a set of blocks on the outside to hold everything so I don't need clamps until I'm actually drilling and assembling. Straight template 2.0. Here's a better view of how the template holds everything together. Here I'm trying to make sure that the stick out on both ends is the same. Hopefully you can see that that stick out here on this end is about 18 inches to that end block. And if I remember right, it was 22 on that end. So things have to shift a few inches to get it even. The next step is to mark the slats to cut to length. And I have a handy table here. You can see I'm looking at there for the 20 and for the 14-foot diameter lengths. If you watch carefully, you'll see that I mark only one slat on the outside to remove 1/4 to 3/8 of an inch. On the inside, it's 2 and then 2 1/4 and then 2 1/2 or 2 3/4. I don't remember, which is why I wrote it down on the template. And just like the straight stringer, these are offset by 8 inches. Watching myself do this, having a template comes to mind that is already pre-measured and pre-marked to where I just slide it over the ends of the slats and zing, 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 mark, I'm done. Curve template 2.0. And I'm just marking these on the face so when I put them on the saw I have a mark I can see. Now it's time to cut each one of the slats to length individually. I've chosen to loosely assemble the slats, then pull them out one at a time, cutting them individually. Then reassembling. It takes a little bit extra time to do it this way. I could just have easily have marked them before I loosely assembled them, cut them, and then assembled. Here I was trying to use pieces that I may have had that were broken or shorter lengths, but none of them fit. So by the time I assembled it, I realized I'd just have to cut them all to length anyway. So one more and this side will be finished. I decided to show this segment in its entirety. It gives an idea of what it takes to use these templates. And you can probably tell it's getting late in the day. So I'm not taking my time about things. I need to get this stringer done. This is the last of 2 curved stringers I need to make today. I'm going to cheat a little bit here. You can see I've already fastened some of these spacer blocks, but I'll give you a view of how I go about doing this with the curved stringers. It's pretty straightforward. It's very similar to the way I do the straight ones, except here you can't really clamp across the stationary blocks. Here you clamp against the actual spacer block. It's very similar to the straight stringer. Here I'm grabbing a piece of the cutoff to use as a shim on these outer blocks. They're kind of loose, and what I do is I kind of twist it, spin it to where it wedges. I think you can see that, what I did there. That lets me keep a fairly tight curve towards the ends, and you'll see here shortly why that matters. Here's a better view of the clevis that I'm always talking about. And maybe you can see why I'm talking about the ends having to have a little bit extra curve. As they come off the end of the template, they're fairly straight. The problem here is it's only a 6-foot long template, whereas the straight one was 8 feet long. All I can do is put in this last block on the template. Once we get beyond that, though, I need to come up with a scheme to actually curve those last remaining pieces of slat there just enough. Sometimes I'll actually pull the stringer up out and then shift it over to the other end to maintain that curve. Here I'm just clamping in the spacer block that will join between 2 of these stringers. The idea here is when I join it to the next stringer, we can always shape it, bend it, twist it, whatever needs done to get it to join with the other one. Wind in these last couple of screws, and this stringer is just about done. Here I'm being careful to make sure that everything is the same level with the clamp and drilling the pilot hole then. Sometimes what I'll do is I'll pull this towards me to give it more of a bend. And there you have it. One completed curved stringer ejected. Oh wait, I always forget this part. The way these spacer blocks work, and the way the stationary blocks on the template are positioned, I can't put the one in the middle because, silly me, put the blocks right there in the way. I keep talking about template 2.0. Well, there's another thing I'll need to do if I ever rework these. And time. So here's my box of blocks, and you can see all the long ones. There's the deck screws I use, the tape measure, but you can see I have a bunch left here. There's the snap top. Here's a bit more information, a close-up of the 20-foot diameter curve cut table, if you will. It could obviously use a little bit more. Now here's the lined grooves, if you will, where the slats go. Here's the 14-foot diameter table. And here are the slats as they're staged, and these are what I select from when you see me throwing them in there on top of the template. Here's a comparison of the 8-foot straight template compared to the curved template, which is a bit shorter. The boys and I thank you for watching, and we'll be back with part 3. Until then, thanks for watching.